Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee Books and Rain. I'm Rachel, and even though you have seen this outfit before, I started doing some editing when I realized there were still 2 books left to be recorded and reviewed. So I'm diving back into the fray in order to record those for you guys. So this will be the episode for The Nightbirds by Christopher Golden. This was one that was actually really cool, and again, this was a murder mystery. Well, this is a mystery, suspense, probably thriller without. Yeah, there's some murder, but it's supernatural and it's not a whodunit. So, so it is definitely a mystery, paranormal horror. This is not a cozy mystery. This is something that's intended to keep you much more on the edge of your seat. Now, just looking by the cover, and that's why I picked it up, the cover, and didn't know what the Nightbirds really stood for, but by the cover of the book, I was thinking paranormal, supernatural, ghosts on a ship. And I was like, yes, I am here for it. Like, give me all of the Queen Mary vibes that you possibly can. I love it. Then, as I dove into it, I got more than what I was expecting. Now, sadly, no ghosts, but definitely some supernatural. So let me dive into the summary real quick and we'll go from there. Now, I'm going to let you guys know that the reason that I dropped the ball on almost not recording this was because I thought I had recorded it. I know I wrote my review for Goodreads already, but I think in my brain I had recorded the episode in my brain and not actually put it onto any film or, database, memory bites, what have you. So I almost forgot to record it until I started looking at my schedule and realized I did not have this in my queue for where I thought it should be. But this book is by Christopher Golden. It is expected release of May 6, 2025, and it is approximately 300 pages in hardcover. I do expect to see this book in Barnes & Noble or other bookstores. I do think this will be a fairly I think if people pick it up, I think they'll be pretty intrigued by it. So let's dive in. The next gripping atmospheric horror novel from New York Times bestselling author Christopher Golden, set in a deteriorated, half-sunken freighter ship off the coast of Galveston, Texas. Charlie Book and Ruby Cahill have history. After their love ended in heartbreak, they never expected to see each other again. But when terrors enter Ruby's life, Charlie Book is the only safe harbor she can believe in. In his work for the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, Book has been living abroad and studying the Christabel, a 19th century freighter that lies half sunken in the Gulf waters, just off the coast of Galveston. Over many years, a massive forest of mangrove trees has grown up through the deck of the ship, creating a startlingly beautiful enigma. Book calls the floating forest, full of birds, crabs, and snakes. Though a powerful storm churns in the Gulf, Book intends to sleep on board the ship as usual. But when he arrives at the dock, preparing to motor out to the Christabel, he is stunned to find Ruby there waiting for him. And Ruby's not alone. With her are a mysterious, terrified woman named here we go. This Goodreads summary says the mystery woman that is with Ruby is Johanna. When I listen to the audiobook, the mystery woman is May. So I'm just letting you guys know that I don't know what it's going to be in final publication on May 6th. When I got the audiobook, May was the person with Ruby. So I'm going to say May in the parts where it says Johanna. And if in the final book it says Johanna, then there you go. That's why I'm saying May, though, is because when I listened to it, it was May. So a terrified woman named May and an infant child. They need Book to hide them safely aboard the Christabel while they're on the run. Only it isn't the police who are after them. It's a coven of witches. May has fled, stealing away the helpless infant for whom they had hideous plans, or so May claims. It's lunacy. Book wants nothing to do with it, but after the way he and Ruby ended things and the unspoken pain between them, he can't refuse. Yet even as he brings them out to the ruined ship and its floating forest, back in Galveston there are shadowy figures out in the storm, sniffing the air like bloodhounds, and despite the worsening rain and wind, the night birds are flying, scouring the coastline as if searching for their prey. This does have a really cool, and I like what it says, the atmospheric horror. There is a really good, intense vibe in the air as this book happens over the course of a night. And it is pretty much just one night. We are in the midst, like, of a hurricane. It has diminished a little bit, but while they're in the water and on the water, it is pretty intense. The scaffolding, like, dock that goes up to the freighter that was built who knows how many years ago looks pretty sketchy at best. But they have that as well to get up and down to the freighter. And so Book decides to go ahead and bring Ruby and May to the ship where they've asked for some sanctuary. Now, Book has been, again, working on this ship, studying this mangrove, studying this floating forest that is kind of off the coast of Galveston. And I would love to, I think I'm going to Google it after I record this, because it's really spurred my interest to see if a ship with mangrove trees is out off the coast of Galveston. Like, I'm curious. Maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't. It's a cool premise. I would love to see if it's real. However, he's been staying here most nights. He just enjoys being in this place. He likes the isolation of it. After he and Ruby kind of broke up, he does seek a little bit of solitude. It doesn't seem as though there has been anybody else in his life after he and Ruby ended things. It was not a good breakup, and I mean, I could probably expound upon why, but I do also think that's part of the intrigue of letting the reader kind of understand what happened to their relationship in the book. So I might not really delve too far in it. It does seem, when they were together, that they had a pretty good relationship. They had a lot of things going well for them. She was a singer-songwriter, doing gigs, having a good time. He was also doing his thing. So they seemed really happy until one thing kind of more or less broke the camel's back, and it was a pretty big thing, and I'm not going to say it wasn't. I don't think anybody was in the wrong. In my personal thought, things could have definitely gone differently, but I see it from both sides, if that makes sense. Again, I'm not going to try to give you a ton of information on it. I'm going to let you all, like, if you read it, kind of understand how things unraveled. But it's been, gosh, like, I think they say like 16 or 18 months since they've seen each other. So it's been a little while. He used to go by the name Charlie, but now he just goes by Book, which is, of course, his last name. So when Ruby sees him, she does usually call him Book as well, although when things are really intense, she calls him Charlie, and he kind of knows that's like a sign that either something's not right or something is really worrying her. Well, as the story progresses and the storm continues to rage and build outside, now Book does have a couple other, like 3 other people as part of his team. There's an older man, there's a girl named Louise or Louisa, and then there is, I think, Gerald. As the storm progresses, they get increasingly worried about Book. They know he's out on this ship. They know that he that he really shouldn't be out there during this storm, but even though he feels confident that, you know, this hurricane's not going to mess with this ship out in the woods, it's still really not safe for him to be out there. And now, on top of all of that, we have this coven of witches who are hunting for May and this infant. We do learn pretty quickly that these witches are they're pretty bad, and they tend to tend to get a lot of their power from this kind of ancient force called an ore witch, or I think I'm trying to think of her name. They call her something, and it was really really good. Let me see if I see it in here. If they mentioned the name of the witches. Not really. Let's just call her the Ore Witch. I know she had a name. It was like Stratum or something like that. But she's kind of like the head big baddie witch. And if you've ever seen Ghostbusters 2, where, you have Vigo the Carpathian, who's trying to inhabit the body of a child to come back and rule Earth, this is a similar sort of vibe. Stratum is trying to inhabit the body of this infant to come back to power. She does have an ability to, if the witches of her coven, the 13 witches of her coven, do a certain ritual, then she can come back for a period of time, as long as the candles on her horn crown, like, I just picture this crown of like deer horns, like all coming out of her head, looking really creepy. So she's able to inhabit that form for a period of time, but she's much more vulnerable in that state because her lifeline is linked to the other members of the coven, and they're also linked to her as well. So should anything happen to either one of them, then things kind of go a little awry. It's a very cool premise, but it can be a little touch and go at times. And if you read it, you'll understand why I'm kind of dancing around that. Now, I will say that a lot of this book is May, Ruby, and Book in the boat trying to avoid the witches. There is a certain reason why some of the witches who start showing up, who are able to transform into birds and, kind of peck and those sorts of things, perch in the trees, the witches are able to transform themselves into that. But there also becomes a reason in the story why they're unable to enter the ship, and it's not like a vampire thing where they have to be invited or anything. It's a little bit different. But it's as the storm's raging, of course, Stratum is on her way, and the witches are on deck on the outside of the ship trying to somehow get the baby out. There's a lot going on, but it's not a lot of action in my personal thought. We are fighting a little bit, and we're kind of running around, but it's not like really running around because we're just kind of in the wheelhouse of the ship or below decks. And so it feels like at times a lot of nothing is happening, even though we have like this atmospheric storm building. So even when nothing's happening, it feels like energy is building, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's really kind of hard to describe because there were points that I was like, okay, well, why are we talking about this when nothing's really like happening? Like we're having dinner or we're changing the baby or we're like taking a nap, because at certain points they do feel kind of safe, but then again they don't feel safe because of course the witches are all like outside the doorway of the wheelhouse, and it's really only like one way in unless they kind of go below the water and enter through one of the ways under the water. I really kind of wish that, like, as someone else said, that it would have been so cool to have like a haunted house ship type story. That's what I was expecting. I really was like expecting like ghosts. I wanted somebody to get possessed in a different way. like, this particular person said maybe not a witch and a haunted floating forest, but that's a storyline that could have held their attention as well. And I want to say this person, Jamie, said that, which I agree with. Although I could have had some witches going on. Like, if the witches are outside and we've got some maybe bloodthirsty ghost on the inside, maybe we have to choose the lesser of two evils and figure things out from there. That could have been cool. I would have been pretty good with that. This was my first Christopher Golden book. I will say I enjoyed it. I do give it a pretty solid 4 stars. I was a little sad towards the end. I got it. I understood why things happened. In general, in the story, a lot of people don't make it, so I hope you're not like a fan of happy endings. Kind of throwing that out there, like, now that we're about 16 minutes into this review, just letting you know. But it is atmospheric horror rather than I guess actual horror in my personal thoughts. I mean, we do have some people who are pretty cutthroat and ruthless, but I didn't feel like we had the action involved to really make it like a horror slasher-esque. I mean, again, people don't make it. Just wink, wink, nod, nod. That not everybody's gonna make it, but it was a pretty good horror book in my personal thoughts. And so I may need to go back and read one of his other books and see what we think with regarding that as well. As a girl from the coast, not like a coastal state, so I was born and raised in Louisiana. I've experienced hurricanes to a certain extent because I grew up in north central Louisiana instead of the southern area, so I probably haven't experienced it as much as some, but I do have some experience, and I would never have put myself on a ship in the middle of the coast or in the middle of the Gulf during a hurricane. You would not. I would not. I don't even know how the oil rigger people do it. I just, no thank you. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up there. I do recommend, so if you are interested in kind of a horror / supernatural, then this may be up your alley. But thank you so much for tuning in. If you have not liked and subscribed already, then I certainly hope you will. And with all of that being said, thank you for joining me on this journey, and I will see you all on the next page. Have a great one. Bye.